Hey, this is Alan Mooney live from the Ohio Cannabis Institute in downtown Worthington, Ohio, the center of all knowledge on planet Earth. We're coming to you live right now. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. Woo! Hey, here we are. You know what this means, don't you? It's a good day. Yes, sir. It's beautiful outside. Spring's here. The lovely things are happening. I've been traveling around the wonderful state of Ohio. Listen to all the farmers and ag people in the state. What a beautiful, no wonder you're in love with farming. This is just an extraordinary state. I don't care whether you're up around the Cleveland area or over around Youngstown, Avon Lake, or over towards, Troy or Toledo, or down to Marietta, or over to Portsmouth, or back up from Cincinnati to Dayton. I'll tell you, everybody in this state, we've got one of the most beautiful states, one of the most beautiful places, I believe, in the whole world. And you drive around this state, and one thing you know for sure is we are an ag state. And this is an ag business, not a pharmaceutical business we're talking about right now. And there's 32,000 entrepreneurs that are screaming interested. And I'm going to tell you, I think there's communities all over Ohio that it's vital to their futures and their successes, and immediately it's the IV and the arm they need just to sustain themselves and go on existing. A lot of communities in Ohio, like around the country right now, are still hurting. We've never got a recovery from the crash, the Great Recession, whatever you want to call it, in 2008 and 9. I will say that the state itself was one of the early recoverers in the crisis, but those are the big cities in Ohio. A lot of cities, I mean the size of Lancaster, Ohio, are having problems. There are major cities in this area that are in the same problems or worse problems than there were areas of California. And they need this. They need the revenue. The revenues are already there. At least $2 billion of the $3 billion of underground sales going on in Ohio. At least a couple billion of it is right here in our own backyards, homegrown farm boys, from what they're telling me. And only about 1/3 of the underground market is foreigners, or people outside of Ohio that import into Ohio. And most of those look to me like they're American major growth cities. But the underground, if you will, economy of Ohio is what's saving an awful lot of people in this state, thousands and thousands. If there's 3,000 growers, you can probably say there's another 30,000 people in the compassionate caregiving business right now. Caregivers, compassionate caregivers, if I can call them that. People that care about other people, that love family members, don't want to see people suffering, dying, vomiting, going blind, having cancer, or their children being sick. People that are worried about people that have post-traumatic stress disorders or other mental maladies that need some relief from their own brains. There's all kinds of palsies and Crohn's disease and things that I've talked to people about that are enough to make you, if you're a compassionate person, it's going to get to your heart. I'll say it that way. These people all need our love and our care. And I think they all need to have an access to homegrown. But I'm going to say it broader. I was just with a gentleman that knows very little about the subject. And he was stunned at the idea that homegrown, he was stunned by another thought, smoking as a delivery system. He was stunned by a lot of things, but the one that probably stunned him the most when I talked about that I hope everybody in the state gets the freedom to self-medicate very soon. He said, everybody self-medicate? That sounds like recreational. And I said, well, if you eat aspirins recreationally, or you take diuretics recreationally, I guess you're kinky. But there's a lot of people that need those things for exactly what they are. And you don't criticize somebody for taking an aspirin, do you? You don't criticize somebody for needing a laxative, do you? You don't criticize somebody that's diabetic from taking their insulin, do you? Your blood thinners, right? You don't even criticize somebody for getting drunk or taking a shot here and there, do you? You know, but you want to look down on somebody, so you've chosen this as the select group of people to be biased, prejudiced against, and talked down to. Listen, the medical need community, I've just been talking to the chairman of the Western Ohio Epilepsy Foundation. And, you know, he's right that everybody I know that has this disease called epilepsy, and a lot of the other diseases like Crohn's and other things, they're treated like somehow they're immoral, second-class citizens. And I, as my God before me, I can't understand that. I'm a holy man. I'm a minister, and it's more than that. I mean, as a human being, I don't understand anybody that would look down on somebody because they're having a medical malady. I would think that a compassionate person would say, how can I help? Instead, how can I judge, or how can I criticize, or how can I ostracate you from the rest of society? How can I, you know, I thought it was supposed to be compassion and love, guys. But if someone needs to self-medicate, I don't care if they need to put a Band-Aid on a finger because they pricked their finger on a thorn. I don't care if it's somebody that stumped their toe and says, hey, I need an aspirin because my head's throbbing. Or somebody that, you know, like I said, that has a disease that needs to take the regular medication. I don't see anybody checking your ID at the grocery store to buy whole prescription departments full of over-the-counters, including aspirin, which is almost all those over-the-counter medicines are far more dangerous. In fact, there is no known danger to cannabis. Let's just be honest with each other. Less dangerous than an aspirin, no known danger to man of any kind, and less addictive than a cup of coffee. You know, carrots are more dangerous. Carrots, for God's sakes, are more dangerous than anybody can go in a grocery store and buy carrots. You don't know whether they've been grown in a field full of DDT and full of poison or not. Carrots absorb a lot of poisons right up out of the ground. So let's pick something even healthier, an apple. This is healthier than an apple. Far better for you. Has no known side effects, and there are side effects like pesticides and things being sprayed on apples. They could be sprayed on cannabis. But the two things in their natural state are great and good for you. So let's get real with this, and let's tell the truth about what we're talking about. And let's help each other, and let's help everybody in the state of Ohio do better and prosper from a better economy and better access and more freedoms and less police state mentality. We need to build more hospitals and more rehab centers and less prisons in Ohio. Let's regenerate our loved ones back to what they're you know, into our hearts. Let's quit being so judgmental, Ohio. Let's be compassionate, Ohio. Let's care about our neighbors' children as much as we do our own. And I think most Ohioans, for what I know of them, and I have driven every inch now from a circle all the way around the state of Ohio, cross backwards and up and down. The people I've met in Ohio are family-loving, caring people, compassionate people. And I've heard people say, well, I don't know what to think about what you're doing, Mr. Mooney, but I guess if it saves one life, I'd sleep better tonight. And I said, well, I think you can save about 3,000 a year. I think you've got 300,000 or 400,000 people who need medical care right now in Ohio, that this would be the answer. Like saying, hey, I'm dehydrated and I need a glass of water right now. Yeah, that's medicine when you're dehydrated, particularly if you're a diabetic. Listen, I'm going to get off the heavy, serious stuff for a second. I'm going to just tell you. It's a wonderful place to live here in Ohio. We're going to be out at Hollywood Casino next Tuesday at 3 o'clock. You want to meet me or you want to meet one of the other members of the team? Johnny Science should be there. Fred should be there. Maybe Dr. Roger, I don't know, but Paul should be there. A lot of our cast members, if you're thinking you want to be a volunteer, give me a call, come on in. We're looking for volunteers, particularly to help us with the streaming video. I'm in the studio today by myself. Everybody else is out bidding on these level 1s and level 2s right now. We're in bid fever here in Ohio for the green rush. Listen, we also got Johnny Sciences. We're putting together a convention downtown, Capital City Convention Center. It ought to be a doozy, 2 days. It's going to probably have over 100 vendors the way it's going. And it's got a full slate of speakers. I'm going to be one of your lead speakers that day, probably the keynote speaker. Dr. Rogers certainly will be there, and the rest of the team. I know that we've got some really intelligent people lined up to help you with this. For those of you that are in the bid processes right now, you want to come together and meet some of the other bidders. I've heard that there's over 100 right now that are already talking about making this a kind of ta-da, here we are reality. So that's coming up the end of May. I think that's the 28th and 29th of May. You can go to ohiocannabis.com, and I'm sure Johnny will have a flyer up there for us all to look at. Great event. I understand it's red hot already. So if you're even thinking that this is for you, if you're thinking that you want to be an entrepreneur, if you're thinking you want to be a grower, if you're thinking you want to be a dispensary, a manufacturer, you need to come on down. I'm not going to mislead you like so many seminars do and tell you there's continuing education credits for doctors and nurses and a bunch of garbage. I'm going to tell you that this is the real entrepreneurs of Ohio coming together. The connoisseurs, the growers, the medical need, a lot of people that are just good old Ohio people wanting to come together, and they're wanting to have a cannabis convention. So we got one getting ready to happen, a big one. I was just over at the World Medical Cannabis Convention in Pittsburgh, and it was extraordinary. I was very impressed. Been out to the Colorado, been out to California, been to DC, and so I've been to a lot of cannabis conventions already. And I'm sure there's more, Vegas and so on. And every day I hear about another one in Australia or somewhere else. And so I'll probably get to all of them eventually. ComFest is coming here this summer in Ohio, and it's a wonderful place to be. Listen, I'm going to get off here. I'm over the time allotted to me. You know that I'm just plant material, and I'm just looking to be healthier and more prosperous in the wonderful state of Ohio. God bless and have a good one.